everyone, and thank you for joining in to the Hope Hotline. I have a very special guest, and I'm sure you guys are wondering, well, who the heck is she? Because you don't recognize her. Unless you come to this church, then you do see her at this church periodically. So before I tell you who she's with and what this is all about, I do not, as soon as you hear the topic, I do not want you saying this is not for me. Okay, because I'm telling you right now, this is for everyone. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that she is here, and I know that I heard the Lord clearly that she is supposed to be on this podcast for this week, this Mother's Day week. And if I could have, I would have had her for Father's Day week, because it applies to both mothers and fathers, men and women. And what her topic is something that everyone knows someone or has someone in their family that's experienced it, or they themselves have experienced it to some level. And that is the topic of abortion and miscarriage. Okay. Again, don't turn this off, because I'm talking about a topic that makes people uncomfortable. Every time Tom on his podcast talks about abortion, the numbers drop. And I'm telling you right now, when you hear what she has to say in ministerial ways, you will use her knowledge and what she can share with you. There's going to be healing through this podcast today. There's going to be people who are able to minister to people through what she has to say. And then there's going to be people that will be able to save potentially a child out there from being aborted. So this is Megan Keever.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
You are I was so happy that you were willing to come and be a part of this. She's with the Pregnancy Care Net, which is out of Bradenton. Pregnancy Care Net is actually who we support at Foundation Church.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
so
we
much for your
support them big time, because you can talk about a topic all you want to, but unless you're willing to put your money where your mouth is, really, what's the point? Talk is cheap, but you have to support. If you believe in winning the lost, then you support winning the lost. If you believe in saving children from being aborted, then what you do is you get in there and you put your money where your mouth is, and you help support them. Outside of that, there's really no way.
Yeah. We can't do it alone.
No,
it's a partnership.
And you can go and, do you need to scoot over here more?
I'm good.
And here's the thing, you can go and pray outside of these clinics, and that's truly vitally important.
It's very important. Power and prayer.
Yeah, but
Very important.
financial support is huge, because outside of that, you're the good clinics
Absolutely.
that help save these mothers and fathers from taking decisions that they might not really want to do.
Or that they just feel boxed in. It's not, I don't know if it's a want or a not want necessarily when you feel so boxed in.
Yeah.
At that point, it's really not a want, or it seems like a necessity in some areas, or you can't see past that decision.
Yes. Now I'm talking way louder than you. So you're going to have to talk louder.
Okay.
Otherwise, she's going to have problems with the audio.
Okay,
So here's
can
the
you hear
thing.
me?
Yeah, I know you can talk louder. So here's the thing. I want people to hear your story.
Sure.
In a brief, because we got a lot to cover.
You got a lot to cover.
But you're on the board.
I am. I'm on the board of directors at CareNet Manitoba Pregnancy Center. That's up in Bradenton, up in Minnesota. But I did not start on the board. I have a unique scenario where I was actually a client there. 11 years ago, I found myself in a situation in my second pregnancy, because I was pregnant. I have an older son who is almost 20. So at 18, I was pregnant and never considered abortion. Abortion was not on my mind. Adoption was. I actually went to the adoption agency. I sought open adoption. I knew that terminating my pregnancy was not going to be the option at 18. So fast forward 8 years later, I can't even explain how I found myself in the scenario of not only considering abortion, but making an appointment at the local abortion clinic. And truly, to this day, I can't fully explain how I ended up even thinking of that option. And that's why I was trying to say,
Yeah.
like, it's not always a want. I wouldn't say I wanted an abortion. I felt so backed into a corner. I wasn't married. I was I was just so boxed in and selfish, and I wasn't married. This would be 2 different fathers of 2 different kids. I was a mess. I was in a previous industry, and just I didn't know what to do. So somehow, at 26 years old, there I am calling the abortion clinic, making an appointment, and I would like to say I reconsidered, and I didn't go that day, but that's not what happened. As we were driving there, my mother took me, and we got there, and at first I actually, we left because I saw protesters, and that really did deter me. And I was like, I can't walk through them. I can't do this. There just has to be another way. And we turned around, and I would like to tell you that I turned around and I went home, but that's not the case. We went back, and I called to cancel my appointment at first, and they told me there was a back way. So if I came back, I didn't have to walk through the protesters. So I said, turn around, we're going back. I need to do this. Again, for all the reasons, those boxed in reasons, not thinking outside of the actual scenario of other options. And I went back, and somebody was there to come down and help me up the stairs. And we went in, and I remember that day very clearly. We went in, and a procedure they have to do where we have to get an ultrasound. And so, the pregnancy test, the urine test was saying I was pregnant, and we have to do this ultrasound. And they were looking at the ultrasound, and they said, we can't see that you're pregnant. So they gave me my money back, and I left there, and my son Hayden will be 11 next month. So I didn't, at that moment, I didn't even know what to think. I left there thinking, Googling things, what would give a false positive? It's so much more common to have a false negative, not a false positive. My urine tests are saying this. Do I have cancer? It's you run the whole gamut of, I don't understand. So I went through the weekend being confused. I was not saved at the time, and the only person I could think to call and talk this through was my friend Lauren, who I wasn't really close to at the time because I was not following the Lord, and I knew she was. She was in a church college and all this stuff, and I thought she was off her rocker and just kind of like, whew. And I was worried to be judged, to be honest with you, even though I know her and I know she loves me. I didn't talk to her in a while, and I didn't know what to do. So I called her. I explained the scenario, and she said, Megan, will you go with me to a pregnancy center? And I said, I don't even know if I'm pregnant. I don't know what's going on. I'm confused. I'm scared. And she's like, will you just go talk? Will you just trust in talking with somebody who just, and I said, I don't know, at this point, sure. And that was CareNet, Manasota Pregnancy Center. So I did not start on the board. I started there as a client in need, and that very same week, I had another ultrasound, and I was pregnant.
And it shows it.
And confirmed pregnancy. And I would then love to, I stayed there my whole pregnancy, doing programs there, talking with a counselor.
Like what kind of programs, for
Sure.
example, so people know like what they just don't give you like supplies.
Right. No. So you go there and you can, one of our biggest programs at CareNet is the Earn While You Learn program. And that is where you go in and you talk with a counselor, very much like how I did. There you get, and you learn about pregnancy, you learn about parenting, and you get to learn about safety, like car safety and all this stuff. And while you're there, you get points to go, and you get points for attending. You also get points for doing the worksheets of education, and you get points, actually, they give you they offer you Bible studies. We are a Christian pro-life pregnancy center. However, you do not have to be Christian to go. But if you would want to do Bible studies, and I'll tell you at the time, I wasn't walking with the Lord, but I wanted points. So I was like, whatever, I will do these Bible studies. Sure, I'll go to church and take some notes, because if you went to church and you bring your notes. And
what do the points earn you?
The points, so the Earn While You Learn, we have a baby boutique. And so this is where you can shop with your points for maternity clothes, baby wipes, diapers, formula, toys up until two years of age. So you get to do actually all of these things.
And I love that you just don't hand it out.
Yeah.
There's expectation,
yes, accountability.
Yes, that's huge. That's how you get people saved.
Absolutely. And actually, while we're here too, when people come in, we're always offering, would you like us to pray with you? And they have the option to say yes or no. We always do when they leave if they say no, but so we just open up the door to have that conversation, to really show it, really to encourage people. I will tell you, when I was there, I did not feel judged. I left there that first appointment, and I was still undecided. I didn't know if I was pregnant. I didn't know what I would do if I was, and I left there. They spoke truth to me. They are pro-life, and they will speak truth. But if you leave there and end up going through with an abortion, their door is open. They want to love on the person.
Yeah.
They want to make sure that people know, we love you, we are compassionate for you, and I'll tell you, that's all I felt. And at that moment, I didn't know anything really about Christianity, and they were shining. And so we get people, we just give them encouragement, we help them see the alternatives, and to be all that they can be and that they're called to be, and the strength and the courage. I can't, that's one of our biggest programs. I can't talk enough
more about it. So the thing is when people make the right decision, you're definitely there, which is huge.
Absolutely.
Which is huge.
Absolutely.
I think so many people don't do it because they feel like they're on an island, in and of themselves. So like they're going to be alone through this process. So having somewhere you can go, could you go every day if you wanted to?
So it's typically weekly or every other week, depending on what stage you are in your pregnancy and depending on the needs and whatnot.
So you can go there once a week and be around people that are like-minded. Mm-hmm. Are you in groups? Like if you go to a counseling, are you in groups with other people who are pregnant? Or is it one-on-one?
It's typically one-on-one. However, oftentimes a family member or the father will join, a mother, and then they do have some group classes periodically, like seasonal group classes, and that'll include, breastfeeding classes, CPR classes. They've had a financial person there before coming in to really. And it's not, and I'll tell you, if CareNet doesn't offer it, we are such community partners with other organizations in the area that we will find you the resource that you need. Yeah. And as long as you show up, well, we were talking about accountability and responsibility, you show up and you want to succeed, we will help you do that. And just come on in, and we offer.
So it's not for just ladies.
It's not just for ladies.
So this is what I would say. Everybody knows a youth, or you're going to come across a kid, somebody in their 20s, somebody even in their 30s, because I've known women who were in their 30s that this has been an issue for them, and they didn't know what to do because they were single, money was tight, which I'm sure is not unfamiliar for you guys to see a woman of that age group to come in.
Absolutely.
So, but you have things, usually everybody thinks it's always the woman. It's not, though.
And they think that it's typically, which I would guess in a sense it is more often unwed necessarily or younger, but we see women and men and have experienced and walked beside people from teens through their 40s. I got the opportunity to walk beside a woman who was 41, who already had 5 kids and had a late-term abortion scheduled. And just by getting to know her and getting to know her other kids and helping her find a way. And, she was 41. So it's not just teenagers, and it's not just women, and it's not just men who are affected by the subject matter that I feel like we need to be talking about.
So what happened with the lady? So you guys, she was 41. She already had 5 kids.
Yep.
She was scheduled for a late-term abortion. You convinced her not to. Did she keep the baby, or did she give it up for adoption?
We sought out adoption. I walked
That's
beside
awesome.
her, but she did end up ending up parenting.
No, she kept the baby.
Yes, she did.
Oh my gosh,
Yep,
it's great.
She did, and it was a beautiful story, and we just praise God through it all. And getting, again, you hear these women and men, their stories, and you can't help but have this compassion for. That's why I really believe that we need to be talking about this subject matter. And I even wrote down, these are some questions that I just feel like we need to be talking about this, because this subject matter, this is going on whether we're talking about it or not.
Oh, 100%.
And it's going on outside the church and it's going on inside the church. And these are just some questions. Like, I just ask everybody to really think, how do I view the topic of abortion? And to really sit with it. How do I view it? What are my thoughts? What are my convictions? Have I been faced with it? Do I know somebody who has? Am I so closed off that I won't listen to somebody if they have? You know?
Let me ask, like, there's
Sure.
there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of us in the room outside of you.
Sure.
I mean, I personally know more than one person that's
yeah.
had an abortion. Heather's saying yes. You got every girl in this room.
Yep.
Tell you're young though, sweetie, so that's good. And you're not in the school system. So that's excellent. But like,
Sure.
I think everyone but Talia and you yourself, because of where you work, but all of us, and I would doubt very seriously there isn't somebody that isn't watching this
Sure.
that doesn't know or hasn't had a family member
Or
experience it. And a lot of times we don't know what to say to them, and they're
Sure.
hurting. Like, they're in
Absolutely.
pain. First of all, like Tom said on Sunday, if you've had an abortion, take responsibility for it.
Yes.
Don't like make an excuse for that. That's part of the healing process,
ownership,
and it's
yes.
and it's also part of repentance. Own it so that you can just. There's no shame.
Right.
There's
Absolutely.
forgiveness in everything,
Yes.
but you first have to take responsibility for that action, and you can lovingly help somebody through that process.
Absolutely.
But first of all, you do have to ask yourself that question, like, how do I really look at it?
Yeah.
Is it that important to me? It's life and death.
Absolutely.
It is not for the parent, for the child in the womb. It is life and death, and it's that seriously, and we should think of it that seriously.
Absolutely. And it could be life or death for somebody and we were talking about this, a lot of women and men won't talk about the subject matter.
No.
So we really have no exact number of how many people are affected by it, because the people who have had it are typically not talking, and it's a
Right.
really bold, topic to bring up, because you can't take that back once you say it, and you don't know how somebody's going to react. And I think as a society, a lot of times we do shame people, and people
Yeah.
are so nervous, but we have to be open to
Redemption
talk about
and
it.
restoration
Absolutely.
for everyone and
Amen.
everything.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly, we want to help them get the freedom. It is for freedom that Christ has set us free, and that's all we want with people who have experienced this. This could be the mother, the father, and that's as little as women come out about it.
Yeah.
Men, where can they go?
Yeah.
They can come to CareNet. We have a nights program that is a male mentorship. Because for a man, they could have encouraged an abortion, paid for an abortion, or they didn't want her
They didn't-
to.
yeah.
And they didn't, and then she still
Or didn't even
does.
maybe know about
Didn't
it.
even know. There's
Yeah.
just these different scenarios. And where do these men, who can they trust? And we want them to be able to trust in. This is why we need to be talking about it. This is why we need to know there are
Yeah.
services out there in church. Because honestly, for the church, like, what are we going to do? And, Pastor Tom said
Yes.
something on the Saturday night podcast, and it was in regards to human trafficking, but he said, and it hit me, for this topic matter too, are we pro-life until the baby is born? Are we going to, if there's an unwed mother that comes in and she's pregnant, how are we going to respond to her? Is it going to be with shame? Is it going to be or is it going to be like, hey, let's
Yeah.
talk about this.
Let's get you
Let's
right with
get
God.
you right with God.
And let's get this thing going in a positive
Yeah.
way. It's super important. I think that there is a lot of shame for women that they don't want to talk about it. But I think the problem is for men is a lot of times society has said it's the woman's choice, and the men
Absolutely.
have no say whatsoever. They have no rights, and that, on the other hand, is, in my opinion, so unjust. It is so
Absolutely.
not right to do that to men. And then I agree with you. There are some men that have said, I will help pay for it. But there are men out there that had no option whatsoever,
Sure.
and their hearts break and mourn for the child that they'll never know,
Absolutely.
because they were not even given the choice in the matter,
To know, whether.
which is not right. And there's healing through that. Men need
It's
that.
grief. It could be, walking through the stages of grief. Many times with a pregnancy loss, whether it be miscarriage, because we also have miscarriage support for pregnancy loss, or a termination of a pregnancy. Both, everybody. I mean, there are. And I think I've shared this with you before, even, it could be grandmothers, it could be aunts, it could be friends. I have a great friend of mine who only within the last couple years, she called me that my age, and her cousin was pregnant.
Yeah.
And had an abortion scheduled. And of course I said, will she talk to me or anyone at CareNet? What can I do? Will she speak to us? And ultimately, she chose abortion, and my friend was the one who actually took her cousin. And she called me that morning, and she said, I didn't know how I was going to feel doing this. I thought I was being helpful. I thought I was being supportive. I thought I was doing the right thing. But now people out here are calling me a murderer as well, and I just didn't realize.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing. Like, you don't know what you don't know, and this is why we need to be talking about it and asking those questions. What do I really think about it? In all aspects, can I be somebody that somebody can open up to and come to, and start encouragement of a healing process, and then maybe down the road use your testimony to get out there and start helping others. And a big thing that CareNet is all about as well, and that I'm about, is preventative too. Like, we need to be having this conversation to
Prevent pregnancy. Yeah.
pregnancy, and
Because
having
human
the self-worth.
trafficking,
Absolutely.
it's so hilarious. They make sure those kids don't get pregnant. In human trafficking, I mean, they literally, I mean, they throw the people that are running them, they throw the pill on their bed every day. It's the truth.
Yep.
They throw the pill on the bed every day, and they are demanded to take that pill every day. Human traffickers make sure that those girls don't get pregnant.
Sure.
I mean, so for me, I'm like, we should be doing the same thing. First of all, we teach abstinence, right?
Sure.
That's
Absolutely.
ultimately the
Respecting
goal.
God's body that He gave
Yeah,
us.
and because the sexual sin is the worst sin that you can commit. All sin is the same.
Yep.
There's no levels to sin, but it says sexual sin does the worst harm to your body.
Yep.
For
Absolutely.
obviously multiple reasons.
Sure.
But so let me ask you this. Now, statistics, they're all over the place,
They're kind
right?
of all over the place.
Yes, but here's the thing. People who are watching,
Mm-hmm.
you need to understand what we're up against. It's a spiritual battle.
It's a spiritual battle.
It's a spiritual battle because
a dark one.
if you know somebody who has had an abortion, you need to be praying for them, or they get pregnant out of wedlock, or even people have abortions, they're married.
Absolutely.
They're married,
Absolutely.
and they have them because financially
they have other kids, or financially.
they're caught between the crosshairs. Okay, so
Sure.
because of that, like, we really need to, like, it's a big broad picture. Everybody always thinks abortion is done by these young girls that are in their teens, and that's their only way out. That is truth.
Yeah, there's definitely truth in that, but
It
is
goes
a
beyond
wide-
that.
Mhm. And that's what this is about. This is like opening up more conversations in different areas of really it as a whole. Like, it's from different angles, and whether it be in the age, some people think it's just unmarried. It's married people too. It's for various reasons. It's because they've already had one, and now that is more susceptible. You are more susceptible then to choosing that again.
Oh yeah, people have used it as a means of contraceptive.
Yes,
So that's dangerous too.
very dangerous.
Because it's what it does to your body is
yeah.
like there's
Physically, mentally, spiritually, all of it.
yeah. So let me ask you, like, what is? I know that their numbers vary, but like as far as like suicide, depression, what are the statistics for things like that? So here, if you know somebody who's had one,
Yeah.
you need to know that. If you ever consider it, You need to know how this will affect you in some way. And then we need to come along aside people who have either or. We need to save these kids before parents need to like teach their kids to keep their legs closed.
Yeah,
that's
we need
a big
to be
deal.
having this conversation. I'll tell you, my son, who will be 11, who was saved by the grace of God. We talk about this openly. He knows his story. He knows about CareNet. He volunteers with me there sometimes, and we have open conversations because this is too big of a subject matter to not be talking about, and starting young. But yeah, no, with women and men can experience the people who are actually talking about their abortion are typically ones who aren't necessarily fazed by it, that doesn't think it's that big of a deal. The people who have had an abortion where there's shame and there's guilt and there's that condemnation, it's hard to get people to open up. But there are organizations like PASS, which is post-abortive stress syndrome, or that's not an organization, that's
what it's called.
Like
right?
Yes, it's essentially like post-traumatic stress syndrome. Because what we're finding, along with similarities with post-traumatic stress syndrome, is going to be higher rates of depression, possible suicide ideation, and also what's it called? Like when you're rethinking about the past and having those triggers of the moments for PTSD, and when, for instance, on the date of an abortion, or you don't necessarily realize, and you may be affected by your friends going on to get pregnant and avoiding baby showers and starting to avoidance in certain areas. And this might be a tough subject, but I've heard from a few different women who have experienced an abortion that going to the dentist for them can be difficult, because if you are not fully sedated and you have a remembrance, the sound of the suction is similar to that.
Okay.
And that's, so you don't think about that.
Yeah, because
and you might not know.
They make it sound,
Like it's
listen,
easy peasy.
and I literally have heard people tell me that when they went in for their abortion, that how they were told that it was going to happen was more like a medical treatment, like it was, how did they say it? They used medical terminology, but they made it sound like more of like a medical procedure, like
Sure.
you're going in and you're having like your appendix taken out or
Yeah.
something like that, right? That it's more like a medical procedure versus actually what it truly is which is taking a life. Like what that looks like.
It's ending your pregnancy.
Yeah.
It is ending the pregnancy. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. That life of the pregnancy is now gone. And you can't get that back. And not everybody thinks about it. Right. It's that boxed in mentality. It's the deception. And we don't go knocking on people's doors and I was like, have you had an abortion? Or like, we need to pull you out and go take you to get support. These people are finding us. These people are coming forward once we start having the conversations willingly.
Yeah.
We don't know if somebody's had one. We know when they tell us.
Yeah.
So this is not about shame. It is not about calling people out. It is about, this is going on every day. This is going on every day. We most likely all know somebody who has been affected by an abortion in some way, shape, and form. And life is precious. We need to be fighting for it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
and
I
that
agree
means
with you.
the mom and the dad too. Their life is precious, and to not stay a slave to that bondage that many people do face. I mean, trust me, you go and you start researching this stuff, you're gonna. It's tough because you're
tough.
going to see a lot against it, and you're going to see a lot for
there's
life,
so
but you're
many-
going to see so much of devaluing. That's the biggest word I can say. Well, looking on all the different sources and this, that, and the other, it's just a devaluation of really what this procedure is and ending a life.
It's so disheartening to me too, because the value of life is, it's so minuscule. It's astounding to me that I mean, there are grandmothers that are out there that'll never meet their grandchildren, and maybe women don't even, and men, they don't even think beyond that. Like it's like you throw a pebble in a pond and it ripples, and you think it's like, or you blow the little dandelion and the feathers in the wind, you know, or the dandelion goes out there. Those little spores and things like that, you don't think of those things and how much it goes beyond you.
Sure.
And so you're thinking, well, this is what I have to do for me. But you don't realize that that decision doesn't just affect you.
Right.
It affects everyone that knows you, everybody that loves you, and that child that you've now said, I'm not going to have.
Sure.
There are so many family members that don't get to, that they might have, if they had known, would have supported you through the whole
Sure.
process and helped you save that child either for adoption. Adoption is huge.
Beautiful.
So do you guys help people with adoption?
We do. So we have resources that we connect with adoption agencies. So really at CareNet, what we offer for women, pregnancy testing and ultrasound. We actually just got a generous donation to get a high-tech ultrasound that helps
amazing.
detect as soon as possible to see the little baby.
Yeah.
Because when people see, when a woman sees her baby, she has a higher chance of the reality of this is a life.
Yeah.
So we have pregnancy
How
testing.
like if someone sees the sonogram of the baby, what is it? Do you like have even a guess of what the percentage of it being higher that they don't do an abortion?
I don't know
Because
that
they're
act,
doing
but
that with other places. Like, when you went in and they were trying to find out if you were pregnant, did you get to see the screen, or
I didn't see the screen.
They don't. They do
I
that
didn't
on
see the
purpose,
screen,
though.
yeah.
They do that on purpose so that you don't see the life and you move on with the procedure.
That's a good point. Yeah, because I did not see this.
Because
screen.
if you did, you probably would have changed your mind.
If I saw something there,
Evil.
if any of us did, but
It's
yes,
evil.
Absolutely.
So you don't know what the percentage is?
I don't know the percentage. I know from personal experience being at CareNet and having those conversations that has happened. And I will tell you, in 2022, CareNet knows for sure if a woman, people who have come in abortion minded in 2022, there's at least confirmed 11 babies who
Been
were
saved.
born that the mother verified, I changed my mind, and verified the birth took place. So, and we're, sometimes people
amazing.
leave there and you don't know necessarily the outcome. So we believe there's more,
Yeah.
but we know that we have
At least 11.
Yes, just as of last year.
That's huge. 11
know.
lives.
I know.
I mean, that's monster big.
It's big.
Yeah.
All those lives matter. And,
Oh, they do.
And so that was a big, I think that's just
Oh, I
praiseworthy.
love that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. So one of the things that you do, because I want people to know,
Yep.
like, first of all, I want everybody to really pray about supporting CareNet. It's huge. As I said, the church does. So if you attend this church, you need to know that the money.
Thank you.
Yeah, we
So
do
much.
give. We do give.
Generously. Thank you.
The other thing is if you feel compelled to personally give, then you need to have a means. And Tracy's going to put on the screen how you find how and where to send your money for it. Also, you need to know like where your money's going to go, but you also need to know where to send people. It's
Absolutely.
super important. There's a facility out there or means to help support somebody that you know or love, even if they've had an abortion.
Absolutely.
Because we need to send these people for healing outside of church.
I love it. Yeah.
Outside of church, and yourself, you need to be able to say, "Hey, listen, I got a place for you to go." They will help you through this process, and work. And even if they're not saved, because usually that's
I
a great
wasn't,
way
yeah.
to get them saved, right? This is super important. That's why I say don't not watch this, because at some point, this might be a huge ministry that you can send people to and help a loved one get saved that you've been praying for. So tell everybody what you guys do, men and women, because
Yes.
I love it that you're not just for the ladies. I like,
because this is outside of it just being a situation for a woman.
oh yeah,
I mean, women do not get themselves
Pregnant alone.
Yeah, they just don't.
Yeah.
So men can be affected at various levels, as we've discussed as well. So we have pregnancy testing and ultrasounds. The Earn While You Learn program, that's one of our biggest programs, and I love going into the baby boutique. You get to, my son and I will go in and we'll volunteer and we'll get to put the baby clothes up and see all the new cool things. And it's
Now,
just
where do you
so-
guys get all these things for the boutique?
Yeah, so by donation. By donation, whether
There
it
you
be
go.
monetary, that then we go out and purchase, because there are times where a specific client, they've worked really hard and they really want X, Y, and Z, and they're working towards X, Y, and Z. And at that point, if we have the means, we'll go out and
get
get
it for 'em.
that. Yeah, and then, but often we have diapers, wipes, formula, which you guys, thank you so much. When you guys were switching the buildings, Heather contacted me and I came down here
Yeah.
to get a lot of formula, and I will let you guys know that actually got dispersed between 2 different pregnancy centers. Carenet, Minnesota took what they were, knew they were lacking, and then we donated it to one north of there as well.
Oh my
So
gosh,
thank
that's
you guys
amazing.
very much.
That's so good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So important. We have miscarriage support for men and women.
So this would be if you were pregnant, you obviously wanted to keep the baby. Like for
Yeah.
me, I've had a miscarriage. Which
It's hard.
it was hard.
Yeah.
It was if I would have had faith like I do now, that never would have happened. I didn't know the scriptures about miscarriage and things like that. I kicked myself for it. I mean, I'm blessed because I have my daughter, but at the same time, that was not
It's grief.
it was not a
a
pleasant
loss.
experience. So there's a lot of people that have gone through that, and
Yeah.
they're still dealing with that.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not even the lady that has the problem with it; it's the man.
absolutely.
I mean, it's
Yes.
just. But as a couple, you can go there as a couple,
yeah.
correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, men and women. If it's just a man coming in, we have the Knights program, which is a male mentorship. Oftentimes, the spouse or the boyfriend will come in as well and sit beside.
So you can go together, or you can go separate.
Correct. Yeah,
That's
and we
huge.
have counseling. Actually, Good Samaritan Counseling, they volunteer their time to come in to give counseling services as well.
Now, Good Samaritan.
Yep.
Is that the Franklin Graham Good Samaritan, or is it
I
a different?
don't know. I
Or
don't
no,
know if
that's Samaritan's Purse, isn't it? It's not the same.
Yeah.
So
it's just an organization up there who's decided to partner with us because they know that there might be that extra support and counseling that one might need at whatever stage they're at. If they're,
and that's a Christian organization.
yeah, mm-hmm.
That's good.
So,
See, for me, it's great and to get counseling, but it's not great to me
Sure.
if it's not biblically based.
Sure.
Like, I think without the word, you can get all the counseling you want, but the word is what heals you. You know,
Yes,
faith
amen.
comes by hearing and hearing by the word. So everything that you do should always be biblically based and founded. So that being a Christian organization is huge.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, CareNet is. We just we take opportunities wherever
You don't shove
we'll-
it down people's throats.
Yeah, because one, we hope, we love when we get to see somebody who is saved.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to tell you, I devoted my life to Christ when God spared Hayden's life, and then I was at CareNet. And I would love to say that those scriptures then, I'm sure there were seeds being planted, looking
Yeah.
back now, but it still took me 7 years.
Yeah.
I was still living a pretty crazy lifestyle, even knowing the miracle that had happened, even knowing there's no way it could have been anything else but God.
Yeah.
But it still took me 7 years. So,
Yeah.
and I talked today, the lady who cuts my hair, she's my CareNet representative. She was my CareNet counselor 11 years ago. So those relationships are so important, and she had been, to see what she has done, she herself had had 2 abortions in the past, and she had walked through healing and found Jesus, and this woman has helped so many people. So I didn't know her prior,
Yeah.
but I've seen the outcome of Jesus shining through her and her heart being for this ministry.
Yeah.
And where at first, before she got saved, it was just too hard for her to bring up and talk about, let alone help somebody else in the scenario.
Yeah.
But when she got her freedom, and she just became a grandmother. So it's
Oh,
just so
that's
beautiful, and it's just great.
The word does not return void, though. So the thing is those
So
seeds were
beautiful.
planted in
Yes.
you, You know, you just have to know that as he draws them in.
I love it.
Yeah. So that's
how
for
he's
me.
patient. That's when I really noticed and saw and got that he's so patient.
Yeah. He's a gentleman.
Yes.
He'll never force himself on you. But if you use that word,
Yes.
it does not return void. It'll just come
Absolutely.
back. And if the person is willing as he's drawn in, and then if he
Absolutely.
has that choice to reject,
Absolutely.
but at least you're putting it out there, which is super important.
It's extremely
monumental.
Yeah, it's life changing. Important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So go ahead, keep on going,
Yes.
because I could keep interrupting
I
you like
know,
there's no
you're
tomorrow. And
good.
we have 20 minutes, so we're doing good. But I want to make sure you fit everything in.
Yes, great. Well, so we have post-abortion healing for both women and men. So you can come on in and we will walk beside you through whatever.
Like, what does that
looks
look like when you do post-abortion healing?
Sure.
Is it only to the, because I think that is probably as much
Oh.
as the ones that you're helping people
Oh, sure.
save the baby. Like, what does that look like for a post-abortion healing class?
And that's going to be, and it's not always a class. It's going to be one-on-one,
Okay.
most likely. And we've had abortion recovery groups. They don't typically get very big because people just, especially when it's so secretive.
Oh, yeah.
So to even come in one-on-one is so brave
Yeah.
and so encouraged. So it looks like kind of however it goes, like, because there's not one right way on how somebody's going to open up about it.
So could you only come to one session?
Oh, no.
Or
You
do
can-
you,
you
I mean,
can
no.
come back.
I'm just saying, do
Yeah.
some people just only go to one?
Sometimes I'll tell you I have found, because I have co-led an abortion recovery group and I know many women who have, and it is not uncommon to start, and then once you really start getting in here, that you don't come back, and that it might take a few times to actually
wow.
start. So this is that's why it's, once somebody's ready to open up, it doesn't mean they're ready to go fully there.
Yeah.
But that opening and the layer, so that's why I'm trying to say there's not one right. It's not
Yeah.
just like
It's a deep wound.
It's a deep wound.
Yeah.
And so that looks different to everyone, and that's why walking beside somebody with that looks different each time as well.
Yep.
But you get that one layer off, and then if you're, you come back,
Yeah.
and when you're ready to deal with it.
Yeah, I think that it's such a private. I think we have to preach it from the pulpit, and we have to
You
be
have to.
dogmatic against it. And because of that, I
agree
think
with
that
you.
people believe that when you are as passionate about speaking it from the pulpit, I think that people think that there's a hesitancy there to be able to be transparent in saying, well, I agree with you, but I've walked that walk. I've done that. Because we're very passionate, and every now and then Tom's very big on forgiveness. There is actually no sin that Tom doesn't believe people can be redeemed or restored. Like, he automatically just believes that everybody's like, I've done that. Well, okay, then you've asked for forgiveness. You're forgiven. Move on. And especially in this, because Tom always says to me, like, it doesn't matter. They're forgiven.
Amen.
His purpose is for people to understand in a strong way
Yes.
what you're doing and don't do it. But there's so much forgiveness behind
So much.
if you have done it. Forgive yourself. I'm just saying that when women don't forgive themselves of this, it holds them up in ways that they don't understand, that God wants to use them in such a
yes.
mighty way, and men as well, that there's no sin that is not forgivable. Nothing. And God loves
Yes.
and wants us to forgive ourselves because he remembers it no more.
Just got chills.
So yeah, it's so important that maybe you can walk without it and get through it without going through counseling, but you need to know that if you can't do that, that there's go and talk to somebody,
Absolutely.
unpeel those layers,
Yes.
so that you can be used by the Lord, and it may be that you get used by the Lord, and no one ever knows, or no
Sure.
one ever, you never speak of your abortion with anybody, but it helps propel you in a different way.
It's the freedom.
It's the freedom.
It's freedom.
Because maybe that's all you need. I mean, it's private. You don't have to share it with everybody,
No.
but you have to walk in forgiveness for
Absolutely.
yourself and no shame. I mean,
Yes.
it's so important because you are forgiven of it.
Yes.
And you need to love yourself.
I love that.
But you need to also be passionate about saying it's wrong.
Yeah.
You should not do
You
it.
gotta pick us. I mean, you're for it or you're not.
Yeah.
And I mean,
But just because somebody's passionate and says this is wrong, don't do it, that doesn't mean that they're not a person
Yes.
that
Is compassionate.
is compassionate for the person that has done it. Because there's a lot of people who feel like I can't talk to anybody about this, especially somebody who's a staunch pro-lifer. I think you'll find out more
Yeah.
pro-lifers have compassion for you because they understand what you're going through.
Sure.
They've studied it out. That's the reason why they're so pro-life.
Sure.
So they have compassion for the person that has experienced it.
Sure.
They don't want anybody to walk through that, but they love you through it, you know? So
it is.
keep
It's
going on
loving
because I
too.
think it's so important. But
Yeah.
go on because you got 2 rows here. And again,
Yeah.
I've
Some of them
talked
are the
too
same.
much.
No, not at all. You're passionate about it, and that's why we're here today. Because
Yeah.
you guys have opened up for us to come on here, and you're supportive, and I can't say thank you enough. We are
Yeah.
so blessed. Praise God for you guys.
Well,
Thank
praise
you.
God for an organization that's out there doing things like not for profits. People don't understand. You don't get paid. A lot of those people are
Yeah.
like this church. They're all volunteers.
Yeah. Oh,
if
yeah.
you don't have
The majority
volunteers,
are volunteers there.
then you don't have a place for people to go. But let alone you rely heavily on giving.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're not getting an income outside of people giving. So you have to be passionate and you have to really love what you're doing.
That's when you
and thank
know.
God for places that are doing this.
Yeah, no,
It's a
definitely.
risk.
The staff there, I can't say nearly enough great things about them, because you see they are day in and day out, and what the stories that they hear can be really heavy, and
Yeah.
they have to, walk with that, and it's not always, it's so much fun sometimes, and there's so much
Yeah.
joy, and babies are born, and the boutique, and there's so much fun. But those are some heavy stories sometimes, and it's not for a crazy amount of money. And then the volunteers that come in that will devote their time on this mission. It's truly, it's so beautiful to be there, and we want you guys to come in. We'd
Yeah.
love to invite you guys to come in and see the center sometime. It would be amazing. And if anybody feels led to get involved, we'll talk about those ways as well.
That would be amazing. I know that you got in Sarasota. It's North Sarasota. But listen, people drive to
Yeah,
Tampa
well, we're actually in
for a
Manatee
good
County.
meal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I mean, so you can.
that's so true.
So if you can go to Tampa for a good
Yeah.
meal or a concert,
Come on.
if you don't have the money to give, but you feel compelled,
Sure.
you give your time.
Or I'm telling you, we're a Christian organization that believes in the power of prayer. So if you are praying for us, we ask that. I mean, we just, please, it does not go unnoticed, and we feel it. So thank you in advance, and thank you
Yeah.
guys for your prayers. And there's lots of ways to get involved, and just calling up, and whether it's as little or as much you want to volunteer. I mean, we do outside events, for instance. We love to speak at churches if
Yeah.
churches will allow us to, small groups, but we don't just limit it to church activities either. I was we were up in Bradenton, the Marauders game. We had a table there. So really just getting creative. That is something we want to ask about too, is if somebody thinks of an area or something that we can be a part of that would let us have a table there or chat, we would love that as well. So these are more ways to get the word out.
So if people ever
Oh.
work of an event or are part
Hear
of
about one.
yeah,
Yeah.
then let you guys know.
That would be so great, and we would love to be there. We're trying to say we'd love to be anywhere that will let us have the opportunity to chat more about this.
Yeah, because if your name gets out there, then that's more sphere of influence.
Absolutely. The more people know where to go if they're in a scenario, and to be able to call, because we can be a really good bridge source too. I mean, we're up in Manatee County. There are closer pregnancy centers here. We would be happy
to team up.
Absolutely. Like, we care
Yeah.
about you as the person, and we're for the kingdom of God. So if we can help refer you to where you need to go, please call. We have our phone number, and if you reach us after hours, it goes to our text line, and actually to another. It's the Florida Pregnancy Option line as well.
So we'll make sure have that number, those
Yeah,
numbers up
the
there
number, the
too,
website.
so you can contact them, text them, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's super important.
Yeah.
What's some of your other stuff? Because we have
Adoption.
less than 10 minutes, and I definitely, seriously, I want people to understand
Sure.
what you guys do. It's big.
Absolutely. And please visit our website, call, all of it. We can talk about it. As you can see, it's easy to have an hour go by just
Yeah.
speaking about it.
It really
But we
is.
have adoption referrals.
What does that look like? Adoption referrals.
So partnering with adoption agencies. So if you are considering adoption, if that's the route you would choose pregnancy, but you're looking into adoption, it would be getting you in contact with a great referral that would fit your needs.
Is it a Christian organization? Some of them,
Yeah.
but not all of them.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody.
But if anybody knows, again, this is a great conversation. If somebody wants to connect us with somebody else as a referral source, we would love to know that knowledge so we can give it out.
So there are people who would love a child, but they can't. They're having difficulty, and their faith just isn't there to get them to the place of getting pregnant. So adoption has become an option for them. Does these adoption agencies, can you team people up that way, or do you just stay completely focused on pregnant women getting in contact with an adoption agency?
So, for instance, if you are pregnant and you want to go down the adoption route, you can still go to CareNet during your pregnancy and whatnot and get that help and support while being referred to the adoption agency that you feel comfortable with proceeding forward.
If somebody wants to adopt a baby that was potentially going to be aborted, how do you guys also help them? Could somebody call up and say, can you refer us to?
I don't know exactly
Yeah,
about
'cause
that, but that's a great question because there's so many people willing,
Oh, yeah.
families, as you probably even know, who would love that. So
Yeah, they would
getting-
love to take a child that was going to
Absolutely.
be aborted potentially
Yeah.
and just take that on.
Oh, absolutely. So that's another conversation we need to continue.
Yeah,
I
that's
love it.
awesome. That would be great.
Yeah.
Keep going.
STD referrals should
Oh
somebody.
my gosh, I never even thought about that.
Yeah, because sometimes people come in and if they do have an STD and that could be dangerous to the mom or baby, then we have to get them help and
Do
support.
people ever just come in that are not pregnant?
So people will come in, well, whether they've experienced a miscarriage, they might not be pregnant, abortion.
Yeah.
They might not be pregnant. It's primarily a pregnancy center, but it doesn't mean that we haven't gotten calls for other types of, like, do you do this? And we connect them with where, like, even drug facility.
Oh, that's awesome.
There's a maternity house up by us as well. So there are times where a woman will be living there throughout her pregnancy, but then take a bus or a way to get to CareNet as well to get care during that time. So I can't stress enough the community partnerships, because this is not, as you can tell, I mean, this is a big subject matter and we just are here to help. So we need to partner with these other organizations that are just phenomenal. We all go to each other's, events and learn more about each other's so we can be that source.
I never
sometimes
thought
they're
about
going
STDs.
Yeah.
But that is so
Gotta
true,
get them-
especially because it's harmful to the baby.
Yeah, the mom and the baby. Yeah, so we just want to make sure that gets taken care of and gets cleaned up, and then we do have the seasonal group classes that will be periodically, like the CPR, breastfeeding classes, birthing classes. I've heard about the financial class they had. We have had groups for when we start to have an abortion recovery group, but sometimes, like I said, it takes a few times.
Yeah.
Because some people will start off, and it's just hard for people to open up individually, let alone in a group.
Yeah.
But we keep trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we keep trying.
Listen.
And then for men, we have the knighthood. I was telling you about that. That's where a male can have a male mentor and walk beside parenting classes if he's fathering.
That's awesome that other men mentor men.
And
I never even thought about that.
Please, if any of this hits you in your heart and you want to learn more or learn about being a client advocate or just however you can get involved, please reach out. We are in need of a bilingual receptionist, bilingual client advocate. We have one right now, and she is an angel. She has been there for over 20 years. Her daughter now is our medical director.
No way.
It's really cool. So we're very close. There's a lot of goodness, but yeah, we have opportunities. We're looking, if any men feel led, if they want to help a man walk through father steps, or if an abortion scenario or a miscarriage scenario, just call us up. There are people who really want to
You're ready,
help.
willing, and able to take those people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to
I don't blame you.
Have freedom.
Yeah.
So we've got
Good
a
help
lot
is
of
hard to
stuff.
find. So is the rest of the men's stuff very similar to the women?
Yeah, so it's the earn while you learn. You could be doing that alongside. They can be joining during that.
gosh.
The miscarriage support, post-abortive healing, those life skills. Both have life skills. That's going to be where the financial classes sometimes come in and whatnot. The mental health care, where we have counseling services, STD referrals, and we did for a bit. We had. We want to get back to this of abstinence courses as well.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
Yeah, so
That's
we're working
huge.
on. There's a lot in store too, and we just want to keep partnering and keep on growing and keep on helping and all that.
So let me ask you now,
Sure.
out of, and you listen, I go over sometimes. So if it's more than 4 minutes,
Okay.
out of everything, what would you say is the most important thing before you leave you want to make sure is conveyed, or that we didn't touch on? That would, I know you have notes.
Yeah.
And I know you wanted to address some things, but what would you say out of everything before you leave you want people to know and understand?
Well, our contact information, and that we're here for a variety of resources. So even if you think like, I can't call them and ask them that, call and ask. Like, we would just love to hear your story, or while you're calling, or help connect you to the right resource. And if we're it, please come on in. Really, these are the ways people can get involved. That's what I really want to highlight, is prayer, learning about the center, to share the knowledge. We have volunteer opportunities where you can come in and see where you feel led to. And we are in need of bilingual receptionists and client advocates right now, male advocates and women, help with periodic events and booths and whatnot. Like I was telling you how we were at the baseball game and other things like that. Come in and pray over the center. You're welcome to please do that. Can pray from afar, come inside and pray. Help us get involved in community activities, whether it be in the church or outside the church. Donations. If you feel led for donations, that is one of the top ways. Your money will be well spent. I can definitely tell you that, because if you just know the heart of this ministry, a pregnancy test costs money. Keeping the lights on in the place costs money.
It's huge.
We have, when resources, if we don't have them donated, we go out and purchase them. We do have staff. So whether you donate one time, that's phenomenal. We also have something called Warriors for Life, which is our monthly donation partners. You can sign up for whatever you feel led and comfortable with. We have items for the donations for the baby boutique, which would include diapers, wipes, formula, clothes up to 2 years of age for both boys and girls, and maternity clothes, stroller, car seats. The car seats do have to be new, just in case they were in an accident, but we can take used other items. Breast pump, books, and toys up until 2 years of age. We have a Facebook page. We'd love for you guys to follow us, Caronet Manasota Pregnancy Center. And there's something on there, actually, I just did this yesterday. Caronet Manasota Pregnancy Center, they have a baby registry. So just kind of some items that people might have asked for, and then it takes you to a link. This one took me to Walmart to have it shipped to there for a little monitor thing. So that's cool, because then you know that there have been a need or a request for these types of items as well. I think the Facebook page is great and informative. And then, honestly, grant opportunities. If anybody knows of a grant opportunity that we might qualify for, we'd love to seek that out as well. And then we have an upcoming gala in September 29th. It's going to be at the Hyatt Sarasota. And we'd love to invite people. The tickets are free to come and attend. Sponsorships will be available. It is our biggest fundraiser. And we'd love to just have you there. A lot of times we have clients who will tell their stories and testimonies. We have a guest speaker. We just, we
It's
just
huge.
come together and we just learn more about the organization, and then that's a chance for, like I said, community partnerships to come in too, so you can learn about other organizations that we partner with, and it's a really great
It's
event.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I will say this. If you decide, and you can on Sunday or on Sunday, if you decide to give to them, just put in your memo. Then, yeah,
Thank you.
CareNet, and we'll make sure that that money goes straight to them.
Thank you so
Heather's very diligent. Heather's runs all of that. So as long as you put that in the memo, we'll make sure that that money goes straight to you guys. Obviously, we'll
thank you
continue,
so
the
much.
church will continue to support.
Such a
But
big deal.
it is a
Thank you.
big deal.
Thank you so much.
Because if we say we believe in something, you really have to support it on all aspects of things, right?
Yeah,
And
because
so
it's up from here. I mean, because sometimes we look at it so
Oh,
like
yeah.
here, but it's really here.
we say it's important to
Yeah.
us. How important is it? That's the
Absolutely.
thing. How important is it? Put your money where your mouth is. That's what I say.
Yes, ma'am.
If you believe in it, support it. So what I would love to do right now is we always close out, and I want to pray a little different than what we normally do. But I want to specifically pray over people who've experienced, people who may in the future experience that right decisions are made, and just a healing for the heart, because it's a big deal. So I know we normally close out with a sinner's prayer, but today is a little different. So when I say preface it, because they're going to be like, well, this isn't how we normally do it.
Yeah, I
That's
get
okay.
That's okay.
That's okay. We're doing it a little
Yeah.
different. But let's just come together, and people, I'm dead serious when I say there is or will be people around you that experience this. Embed this podcast into your mind so that you will recall whatever needs to be recalled to help whomever crosses your path.
Yeah.
And whatever that is, it's the phone. Pick, and nobody knows what to do, because we, I guess, don't answer the phone around here. This is super
love it.
funny. Heather to the rescue.
Yes, always. Right?
Isn't it just like the devil? Just like the devil. God bless. Whatever. There's somebody probably calling in. No, they don't know you're here. This isn't live.
Yeah.
So
Somebody just knew.
yeah. So let's just pray. We're gonna we'll pray, and then we'll close out. All right.
Yes, thank you.
Heavenly Father, we just come to you right now, and Lord, I know that you had Megan come here specifically, especially this week, because there are women and men who have walked in a place that they wish they never had, and that life is a series of decisions, and sometimes we don't always make the right choices. We do things that put us in predicaments that we find that we just don't think that we can get out of, which causes us to make another bad decision. And Lord, I just ask for each and every single person that is listening to my voice that has had an abortion or has had someone that they were with, a mate or a spouse, that made a decision, and they together maybe made it to have an abortion. Lord, I ask first and foremost, Lord, that they take responsibility for that action. They see it in the truth that it is. Don't make excuse for it. Just say, I did it. I shouldn't have done it. And Lord, I ask you from this point forward to forgive me of that sin, and that I will never do it again. And Lord, give them your compassion, give them your comfort, give them your peace, and remove any shame that they are walking in the name of Jesus. Only you can restore and redeem. And that is really what you want for each and every single one of us, no matter what the sin is. This one's difficult though, Lord, because of it doesn't involve, two people that came together. It involves the life that's been taken. And so, Father, that child is with you. Help them to know that that child is with you. That child is waiting for them when they go to heaven. That if they're not saved, Lord, they realize they do need to be saved, so that they can spend eternity with that child, but that child does not feel pain. That child is just running around in heaven, enjoying its time and just waiting on them. No shame, no guilt, only restoration and redemption. And family members that either hold bitterness or anger towards someone that has, I ask that, Lord, you would open their eyes so that they know that they themselves have no right to hold anything against anyone. There, by the grace of God, go I. Truthfully, they have things that they need to be forgiven of, so they need to forgive. And if there is someone, Lord, that is just so brokenhearted for the loss of the loved one, for the child that's been taken, and I think of grandmothers for some reason, and it just breaks my heart. But for people who are suffering, they themselves did not decide to do this, but they suffer the loss of this child, I ask God that you would give them peace. And that, Lord, they would know that they too will someday see this child, and they would feel comfort for them, for that. And Lord, that every day is a new day. Mother's Day will be a new day that they will look completely different on. They will rejoice in it. They will have forgiveness for themselves. They will forgive a loved one that maybe they feel is responsible, and they are responsible, but they should be redeemed and restored. And that Mother's Day will look completely different for everyone and anyone, even if they've had a miscarriage. Just give them, I know that it's very tough, but even if you've had a miscarriage, that you'll feel love and peace and joy, and know that God can still give you a child, and that you can still have the experience of a lifetime, and that tomorrow's a new day, and that day is yours. And we thank you, we praise you in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful.
I feel so compassionate towards people who didn't get the choice. Everybody, I feel so bad. I feel bad for men. I feel so bad for men. Women get all the rights. They get all the rights, and there are people who have no right, and they suffer the pain. So if that's you, I feel compassion for you, like no tomorrow. But even there's healing with that. And you can forgive the person that made the decision, because they deserve to be forgiven. But I feel such compassion because I've seen and heard stories about men who just live with such sorrow for the child they'll never. I feel such compassion, especially for grandmothers. I don't know. There's something about a grandmother that just longs to be a grandmother. And I don't know. Again, I don't cry hardly ever, but that stuff just, anything like that just, beautiful. It just moves me to tears. So, but Mother's Day, listen, if you've done something that you regret, if you've lost something you long for, if you've been left out of something that you should have been a part of, listen, Mother's Day is a new day, and you need to look at it completely different. You need to look at it through God's eyes. You need to forgive yourself. You need to forgive someone else. You need to walk in complete healing and wholeness, and know that, like, Satan loves to steal from you. He loves to take possession of. But here's the thing: you only give him what you give him, and he can't take what you don't give him.
Amen.
So you grab a hold of everything that's yours, because redemption and restoration, that's what was done on the cross for you.
Absolutely.
You grab hold of it, you hold your head high, and you celebrate.
I love it.
You celebrate. You celebrate, as Tracy always says, you be you. You be you. And that's, you being you is all that you allow yourself to be.
I love it.
I love it. So
good.
Friday, we're going to have a very interesting podcast. It's with the team. You're going to see him in you're going to see him in a whole new light.
Oh, that's exciting.
It is exciting, girl.
I look forward to watching that.
There's a short version and a long version. And the long version is really long, but it's still fun. So we'll see you Friday. I love you, and thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.